What's going on, everybody, and welcome to Season 1, Episode 37 of Control the Narrative. Last episode before we officially get back into the NBA season. We just finished the 3 scrimmages, and Friday, the Portland Trail Blazers are going up against the Memphis Grizzlies. And we are going to talk a lot about what we saw in these 3 scrimmages, what we can expect going forward now in these, what they're calling seeding games. And to do that, I'm bringing on my guy, DeMar. DeMar, what's going on, bro?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Good, bro. First off, appreciate you taking the time out. I asked you today, so appreciate you kind of clearing your calendar or schedule and hopping on. So for those who don't know you, we just talked for like half an hour about some shit. Can you give us like a 60-second backstory to your NBA and Melo fandom?
Yeah, I grew up in a huge NBA household. Pops kind of introduced the game to us early. My older brother actually was a huge Melo fan, just like from the beginning. We had the basketball, the jerseys. I got the Oak Hill Melo jersey in the closet right now. So we've always just recognized game, man, and I just love the way Melo plays the game. I'm a big fan of bully ball. So I just think he's like I say, he's a walking bucket. So it's hard to not be a fan of that guy if you really watch basketball.
When did you start liking him? Was it like Denver days, New York days?
Yeah, we like Melo Denver days, early shiny or Denver jerseys with the cornrows pulling up on people days. Yeah.
Word. All right, man. Let's get into it. First thing I think we should talk about, and also for everyone listening and watching, I'm gonna kind of switch it up in this podcast to kind of test something out. We'll see if you guys like it or not. Instead of going through each topic, we're going to put each topic as like a narrative to kind of fit with Control the Narrative, and then we can talk about whether you agree with it, disagree with it, or don't really care about it. So the first narrative is Jusuf Nurkic will be a big reason Portland gets into the playoffs. DeMar, what do you think about that?
100%. I noticed during the scrimmage today, if he's going to step out and hit threes like that, leaves a lot of room underneath. He could also pass out of that spot. He threw the over-top pass to Anthony Simon. So if he could pass out of that spot and he's able to hit the three consistently, he's going to have bigs coming out on him, which leaves Melo on the block with threes. So it creates a whole lot of spacing for the boy to go to work. So I like it. Yep. I think it's going to be a whole different problem. Then on the defensive end, he protects the rim, and he's also a beast inside. Just adding another star caliber guy like that always increases your odds.
Yep. I agree with like everything you just said, and I agree with this narrative. This dude is just a fucking problem. Like, I've watched him here and there before, but like seeing him on the court with the team, like specifically for the team that I'm rooting for, like you said, both ends offensively, his passing gives this offense a whole new kind of fold and a whole new look to teams that, it's not just ISO. It's still a lot of it, and we'll get into that a little bit. But his passing just opens up so many people. Like you said, he found a couple people today. He gets it from the top of the key. He can shoot it. He's like almost triple threat. He's not a great ball handler, obviously, being a big dude. But, he could shoot it from up there. He is a good passer for a big and things like that. So offensively, fucking love what he brings to the team. And then also defensively, again, you add another big body down there where, the Blazers sometimes this season had guys like Anthony Tolliver and Melo playing the 5. It just wasn't working. Teams were doing whatever they wanted in the paint, really. Even though I think I said last week they were 13th in points, opponent points in the paint a game, which isn't that bad, but it felt a lot worse during the games where, teams could just get into the paint and do whatever they wanted. So defensively, honestly, he surprised me a little bit. He has quicker feet than I thought. He's like on a couple mismatch, he's been able to keep up. Like who they were doing Shai Gilgeous today. They kept switching on him and trying to exploit him, and like it works sometimes, of course, anytime you get a 5-on-1. But he has quicker feet. He is a better blocker than I thought, better rim defender. So I definitely agree. I think the Blazers starting 5 of Dame, CJ, Melo, Zach Collins, and Nurk. I think that matches up with any starting five in the NBA right now. Like you look at the Lakers, you look at the Clippers are really good. I think they're the favorite, but they match up with them. I'm not saying they're better than them. I say that they have a fucking shot.
Yeah, and with Dame's shooting ability, especially to shoot from the logo, you got to go out and guard him all the way, damn near half court, same way people got to do when they play the Warriors with Steph Curry. And
Yep.
I think a lot of people sleeping on this Blazer team because we had never seen a Blazer team at full strength. So the whole season they've been kind of trying to make their way through all these injuries. Dame was injured, Nurkic injured, Rodney Hood tore his Achilles. Like, I think we're about to see a totally different game, totally different ball than we haven't seen before. And I just think that Dame coming back fully healthy too, he coming back for that spot too. So it's just about to be. I think this team is slept on, and I think, Charles Barkley might have been right. I think this team's scary, man. Because no one's seen them this way. There's not a lot of tape on how they're about to play. So if Nurkic can get his wind up and he's able to really play like a lot of minutes and valuable minutes, this team is going to be totally different than any Blazer team people have seen all season. I think you'll get them a little closer to what they were last season when they were in the Western Conference Finals.
And another point that you said, I think right before we recorded, if it was when we were recording, then just forget this, but you said like his shooting opens up a lot for Melo, and we'll get into Melo at the 3 versus the 4 in the next thing, but that gives Melo a lot more room when you have Melo at the 3, so you would think he doesn't have as much room to go in the paint and shit like that, but Nurkic can stand at the 3-point line and take that 5 out of the paint with him. So now it's whoever's guarding Zach Collins and then whoever's guarding Melo, so that he has more room there. Speaking of Melo and the 3 and the 4, the next narrative we'll go over and we'll get your thoughts on it is Melo will play better at the 3 than he did this season at the 4.
That really all depends. That really all depends. I think him, skinny Melo, dropping the 10 pounds and everything. I think he's a mismatch against a lot of threes if they work it right. I think with Nurkic being able to step out, Melo being down on the block against a lot of threes, they're not going to be able to handle that. Not going to want to handle that. It really all depends. If he settles for jumpers early, and it's just a quick hesitation jumper, I think that kind of negates that advantage. I think he needs to put a lot of these smaller dudes on the block and go to work on them then, and he can get a lot of teams' big scoring wings in foul trouble if he does that. So I think they all have their advantages. I think earlier this season, he's also a quicker mismatch for 4s. So I think it's just a totally different game. But him at the 3 should excite a lot of people, especially with this Blazers lineup, because he should be able to bully a lot of these Western Conference 3s.
So before I go, we need an answer out of you. Will he play better at the 3?
Oof. I'm gonna say because he's gonna have more help around him. Yes.
All right, fair.
Yes.
To be honest with you, I do not think so. I think when he was at the 4, offensively at this point in his career, it's a bigger mismatch than him at the 3, just because, when he's at the 3, he's stronger and things like that than a lot of 3s, but he's just quicker than a lot of the 4s. So even at 36 years old, like he still was beating people off the dribble, whether it's fucking Dario Saric, which he did 14 times a game when they played against each other, or what's another 4 that I can think of?
You have to bring that one up.
It was just the most recent one, dude. No, no shots fired. Whether it's someone like that or whether it's like a guy like Paul Millsap, I just feel like he's quicker than a lot of 4s. And then defensively, when he's at the 4, we get more fuck out of here rebounds, because obviously he's gonna get more rebounds than when he's at the 3. So definitely gonna miss that. But in all seriousness, when he's at the 3, for whatever reason, like the first couple scrimmages, he hasn't shot that well. And I almost feel like even in the past, 3s are just able to get under him better because they're quicker. So instead of totally trying to jump and block it, they like kind of get under him and fuck up his follow through. So I feel like that bothers him. I'm curious to see if that continues when like 4s aren't really able to do that as much. And then another thing at the 3 that, again, last week I didn't use the word nervous, but like cautiously optimistic about is he's going to need to be more locked in on D, just because the perimeter defense is so bad for the Blazers right now. And you got the guys in the paint, like we were just talking about, Nurk, Whiteside, and Collins, and the paint is good. Like, push people towards the paint, but they're really not able to push anyone towards the paint. So Melo's going to need to really lock the fuck in on that end to, shuffle his feet along the arc just to keep his head in the game when there's a guy right behind him that was just standing in the corner. Now he's cutting, like little things like that. So I do not think he will play better at the 3 than the 4. But again, I feel like you said, the guys around him, like Nurkic and Collins and people coming back, will definitely help him. When it was just like him, Anthony Tolliver, Wenyen Gabriel, like people like that on the court with him, now he's going to have better players, so he should play better with better players. They get him more looks and things like that. So I'm going to say no, but I'm still cautiously optimistic.
And I'm banking on teams going big to match them. I'm thinking on a lot of teams are going to have to match up with the Blazers when they put all the size out there. So, and then with playoff basketball, it tends to slow down a little bit. So whether he's gonna have to really lock in on defense. A lot of these wings are super athletic and could get to the hole. And him being 36, he's gonna have to lock in on defense. But also on the other end, I think they'll be able to kind of slow it down, run at their pace. And I just think that with Nurkic back, and there's gonna be more of a rhythm to the Blazers offense. I think there's going to be way more of a flow. I think with a lot of the injuries earlier, they're just kind of banking on Dame to get 40, get 50.
Yeah.
CJ, can you help us and get 30? Everybody was just kind of playing ISO ball. So I guess where I think play better, I think Melo's going to get more shots in rhythm. I think there's going to be a lot of touches for him early. I don't think it's going to be a whole lot of, all right, here, Melo, here's your 5 minutes. Okay, Dame, here's your 5 minutes, while as they were playing earlier. So I'm thinking that a lot of teams are going to go big to match them, and they're going to be able to slow the pace down and kind of work their way in. I think he's going to shoot a lot more free throws also.
We've already seen that in scrimmages.
The Blazers just playing a big game, I think, is going to change a lot of things, and people are going to have to go to match them because you have to – Nurkic to score. Zach Collins is going to get your effort rebounds and plays, and you got Melo out there. You got a lot of threats out there, and so I think you're going to have to respect them and match up with them.
Fair. Next narrative we'll go over is that Anthony Simons is an adequate backup point guard for this Blazers team.
He scares me, man.
Why?
Like today, he was hooping. I ain't gonna take nothing from him. Today, he was balling. Sometimes he's be out of control. It feels like sometimes. And back to the whole thing about the Blazers, just too much ISO. Like a lot of times he just puts his head down and goes straight to the basket, doesn't really look around. He's got shooters wide open in the corner. He doesn't even use the screen as much as he should. He kind of goes away from the screen and just puts his head down, tries to get to the hole. Takes a lot of off-balance threes. And for him, if he hits a couple of them, that means he's going to shoot a lot more of those. So he scares me, man. I think in time he will be. I just think he has to play a little more under control. But right now, he kind of scares me. It's like when he's on, you can see it. Like He shows you flashes of everything he could be. It's just those bad days are really bad. And like the peaks and valleys is just way too high and way too deep for me. So he kind of scares me.
Yeah.
It's like, do you trade CJ to get another guard? Does CJ – have the Blazers peaked with CJ?
That's what some people were talking about last year.
Is that the move you make to kind of get more of a team and like a better? Do you package those two together to try to get somebody or kind of things like that? It's just, I don't know. He scares me, man. He scares me.
Yeah, no, bro. You took the words right out of my mouth. One, he can't run an offense. He is always thinking score, which is fine if like that's your role, but they have Damian who does that. They have CJ who does that. And when you have another guard just like that who comes off the bench, one, it's like easy to game plan against. It's easier to game plan against versus like one example for me that comes up of like a perfect backup point guard is like Pablo Prigioni. One of my favorite point guards of all time. He comes in, he runs the offense, he gets people involved and shit like that. And the Knicks back then had Felton, who was more of a scorer than a facilitator, running point. They had Kidd, who was a facilitator, but Simons, when you have two guys, your starters come out and they score. Dame scores, CJ scores, and then you have your backup come in, and what he does is score. It doesn't give you a different look, and it just like messes shit up for the other players because, Gary Trent, he's a decent spot up shooter. I was not a big fan of his when I first started watching the Blazers, but he's kind of grown on me. And you just need somebody like that if a guy like CJ is going to be playing sometimes with the bench, or a guy like Melo is going to be playing sometimes with the bench to get these dudes open looks as opposed to just getting it and scoring. And like you said, I literally wrote this down in my notes. He makes one crazy shot and it inspires him. Like he'll make a step back three and he's like, let's go. Like I got it going. And then he'll shoot 5 in a row and he'll hit one of them.
Yeah,
so
100%.
Yeah, you're right. He drives me crazy, and they need Dame or CJ in every single minute. Obviously, it's just going to be interesting to see kind of how Stats balances that.
And stagger those minutes. Yeah, I think you just have to have a secondary ball handler out there with him, who he kind of defers to. And just like it's great when the second unit gets in transition because you got guys who could run and you got him out there, but when he's just out there bringing the ball up the court, and it's almost like he just puts his head down and takes off from half court and just doesn't look up, doesn't see people. Yeah, but like today, he was hooping and everything was working for him. And it's unfortunately, this is gonna be one of those games that make him feel like this is who he is. And
it's almost like when he does well, I'm like, fuck, man, because that next game he's gonna be like, all right, I shot 60% last game, like, all right, I could do it again, and he's not consistent.
It's almost like if you defer. Or if you stagger his minutes kind of with CJ, right, and you kind of put CJ a little bit on that second unit where he'll defer to CJ and CJ can help move the ball too, but sometimes CJ tries to play a little too much catch up to Dame, but that's a different story, different topic.
Yeah. All right, next narrative is Mario Hezonja will be a crucial part of this team in the bubble. So when I say crucial, I mean like he will be a big time player in terms of minutes and things like that, and important. I guess he will be an important part of this team is a better word than crucial.
It's really going to be about his perimeter defense, especially him being the backup three. It's really all going to come down to his perimeter defense. I don't think they're going to need a ton of scoring from him, but he needs to be able to come in and kind of spell Melo on some of those threes and give him a breather. So if he could even just throw a body at some of these Western Conference threes, then that's going to be his role. I'm not saying he has to be a lockdown, slap the hardwood defender, but if he can come in and kind of stay in front of somebody and just kind of make it tough, that to me is his most important. That's where his vital role would be, is his perimeter defense. With Melo being 36, and some of these guys, Melo getting pulled away all to 3-point line, kind of getting ISO. People are probably going to try to attack him early, and even later in games as they try to test those legs. So his perimeter defense to me is going to be the most important.
Yeah, and he's pretty athletic. Like he's quick and shit like that. So in terms of him being an important part of this team, I think he will be, unfortunately. Like he's another dude like Simons who, first of all, the whole Blazers bench is shaky as it is. Like you don't know what you're gonna get from them one game to another. One game Gary Trent will put up 18. The next game he'll have 2. One game Simons, like today, will put up, I think he had 15 in the first half. And then next game he'll go like 1 for 8 or some shit. So I think it's the same thing with Hezonja as with Simons. They just drive me crazy because sometimes they look really good and then sometimes they look really bad. And for a team who doesn't have depth like the Blazers do, it's going to be tough to overcome that. I think they can, but it's going to be tough to not know what you're going to get out of Hezonja. You talked about like the defense, and I think he's athletic. I think he's honestly a decent defender, and he can like chase guys around the arc and things like that and recover and all that. But I think his offense honestly is more frustrating to me because I see him bring up the ball sometimes and like throw a nice alley-oop, or I'll see him spot it from 3 and he'll go like 3 for 3 in one game. I think it was the second scrimmage where he had a couple threes, and I was like, if he can shoot, that's huge. Because again, the Blazers, like they have Dame, CJ, Melo, but like their bench, I don't know. And then yeah, so he'll do shit like that, and then he'll come back and he'll throw up some random ass fucking pass in transition and turn it over, or commit a stupid ass foul, or airball. I don't know. I think he will be an important part, and I think he a lot of the Blazers' success when the bench is in will rely on him, along with Simon, Gary Trent, and shit. So I don't know. I'm really nervous about his Hizonian, to be honest with you, going into Friday.
Yeah, I just think I'm kind of banking on, man, when role players play better when there's a flow to the game,
Yep.
there's a flow to the offense, and I'm just hoping that with everybody back, there's less hero ball with the Blazers, and there's more of a steady pace and a steady flow, which is going to help those guys in return kind of keep it going, keep it the same way. It's kind of hard to judge. It's almost like a brand new Blazers team coming in to
It
the
is.
bubble, right? So it's hard to judge them off like the season, even though I understand like they were playing, that's what it was. But when you kind of get some of your big dogs back, things are guys you relied on. It's just it's a whole different team right now. So
Yep.
it's kind of anyone's guess right now. I think we're going to see a different. Personally, I think we're going to see a different Blazers team. I
You're
just
right.
think, yeah, me too. Trust me, but yeah, I think less Blazer. I think less hero ball, man. Unless you don't need a superhero every night. Like a lot of Blazers win came with 40-point Dame performances, or 60-point Dame performances, or And I just
And they
think
needed
even
it.
the game that I was at when I went in February, that was a lot of flow. Like CJ hitting Melo in
What
transition
game
and
did you go
rhythm.
to?
I went to the Blazers in Detroit.
In Detroit?
No, in Portland.
Oh,
That was when Melo dropped 30.
the dagger. Good shit.
Yeah, so I was at that game. But even if you go back and watch those games, they were running offense through Melo. He was in rhythm. There was passing. The role players were in rhythm. CJ was in rhythm, passing and giving the ball up. I just think we might see a little bit more of that type of Blazers team because they're going to need that to survive. So me
Yep.
being cautiously optimistic is I guess you would say.
I think that's just the term for the Blazers moving forward in this presumption. Just like we can see the vision of like in these first couple of scrimmages, like the first quarter of the first scrimmage, I was like, this team can win a championship. I was like, this team is legit. They can make a run and everything. And then you saw some things later on like Hizonia, Simons, and shit like that. So yeah, I think that's a really good point. And like obviously, if everyone is in the flow, if Melo gets his shots, if CJ is able to handle the ball, if Dame pulls from 40 and hits it like it's nothing, if a guy like Whiteside gets his touches and like everyone is in the game, yeah, everyone's on the same page and it just makes everything so much easier. So we'll see. Friday, 4 o'clock against the Grizzlies, right off the bat, versus Memphis. So I think that should tell us a lot,
Mm-hmm.
like right out of the first game, especially because the Blazers are a bunch of veterans and shit. I worked till 6, but like I asked my manager if I could take off at 4, and she's like, "Yeah, sounds good." I told her the reason; she completely understood it. So Friday at 6.
I took that whole day off.
It's like what?
I took that whole day off.
Did you actually?
Yeah, yeah, basketball all day. Suns at 1. I got the Blazers at 4. I'm busy,
Good
man. I
shit.
took that whole day off.
Good shit. Respect. All right, let's switch gears a little bit into the New York Knicks. They recently hired Tom Thibodeau. I don't even know how you pronounce it. Tom Thibodeau, Thibodeau. I know it's Thibs, but people or Tibbs. I don't know. I'm just gonna go Tom Thibodeau. Uh, the narrative here that I'm interested in your opinion on is Melo should finish his career as a Knick under Tom Thibodeau.
Mm. Um,
And say how you feel
yes.
because I know we said something off camera.
Um, Personally, I'm nervous that he won't let him be Melo. So I know New York is where he wants to be. It's where his heart's kind of always been. For that reason, I'd love to see him in New York, right? Like I think he deserves that. Um, Wherever he goes, I want him to be Melo. That's the one thing I always loved about the Blazers is from day one they let Melo be Melo. They didn't ask him to be anything else other than Carmelo Anthony. I think part of the or the great part about him being back in the league and being with that team was you got to see Melo again, right? You didn't have to see him in, that one team that, the Rockets, where he was just a spot up shooter, apologizing for taking mid range. You know what I mean? This is one of the greatest mid range shooters in NBA history. It's just things like that I didn't like. Things in Oklahoma City being a third option, but being kind of used as a spot up shooter when the shot clock was running out. The fact that Portland put him on the block, let him play bully ball, let him ISO, let him do his jab step, pull up dumpers. I enjoy watching Melo play like Melo. I just don't want to see Carmelo Anthony in another uniform kind of doing whatever they kind of not letting him be himself. Like, I understand taking a lesser role if he goes to a contender and they ask him to come off the bench and run the second unit. I'm 100% okay with that. I just hope whatever team, whether it's the Blazers, re-signs with the Blazers, when you sign Carmelo Anthony, just please let him be Carmelo Anthony. And that's not. So if the Knicks are going to let him do that and Thibs is going to let him do that, go to the Knicks, man. I just want to see you be Melo, and I'm pretty sure that's what all your fans want. I mean, part of the frustrating thing about Houston, even you getting 10 games, we're just going to leave that alone, but you weren't Melo. Right? So everybody gets to write you off, and, you keep getting to prove this ESPN and Bleacher Report point, but you're not even playing like yourself. They're not even letting you be yourself, right?
Yep.
Like, he's not just a come down spot up shooter, give it to me when you're ready. And so as long as he gets to be Melo, I'm good wherever he goes.
That's fair.
Maybe even Phoenix.
That's fair. So should he finish? So your answer is yes if they let him be Melo.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would love to see it. I would love to see him back in New York.
Of course.
But I just want to see him be Melo. I want to see Melo back in New York. Let me say
fair.
that.
Fair.
Yep.
For me personally, I'm a Knicks fan. I bought season tickets, partial season ticket package to the games this year. I was like, yo, we're getting Durant, we're getting Kyrie. They're going to bring back Melo. Let's fucking go. I can't miss this. Dropped $7,000, and I got to watch Julius Randle and Taj Gibson the entire year. So when I first heard that, like, the Knicks hired Tom Thibodeau, one of the first things, when they were, like, thinking about it and all that, was back in 2014, when Melo was a free agent, the team that he pretty much almost signed with was the Bulls. Thibodeau was the coach as the Bulls, for the Bulls, as we know. And I think that because of that, because he was willing to go there with him as the head coach, he obviously likes him. So that to me tells me that it's possible, this reunion. Obviously, like you said, his heart's in New York. It's always been in New York. He never wanted to leave. They kind of pushed him out, saying, "Melo, we're rebuilding. Either let us trade you, or we're going through a rebuilding phase." So for me, that's my ultimate dream: seeing him back at the Garden in blue and orange, not in red and black, not in red and white, not in orange thunder, thunder orange and blue. I think Thibodeau obviously has respect for Melo because of him coaching the Bulls when Melo was in New York and Melo being like at the peak of his career. So he knows what Melo's capable of. I think that I forgot who tweeted me. Somebody tweeted me recently over the past couple of days, or not me. Maybe I just saw a tweet on my timeline that said, "I want Melo to be a reason, a championship. I want Melo to contribute to a championship team or be a reason a championship team is winning, and if not, I want him in New York."
Yeah,
and I'm
I
like,
saw that tweet.
Yeah, I don't. Do you remember who tweeted that off the top of your head or no?
I don't, and I apologize for that. But yeah,
I forgot to. But that's what I'm feeling like. Obviously, none of this shit matters. It all matters what Melo wants to do. But me as a fan, I think if he could go to a team, like if the Blazers say, "Yo, we want to run this back healthy next year," I'm cool with him staying another year because they let him do his thing. They appreciated him. They gave him an opportunity when fucking nobody else did. So I'm cool with that. But I do want Melo to finish his career as a Knick because at the end of the day, unless it's like this season, like in 2 months from now, how much really would a championship mean for his legacy? Like, yes, a lot of people would say, "Yo, he won a championship" and things like that. He's not going to be the one leading it. So it's like that to me was like the one thing that was like, oh well, a guy like just making this up, Kendrick Perkins. He has a fucking
Yeah.
championship ring. What does that mean? Like that means shit. And like he wasn't putting up 15 a game like Melo is doing, but still, I feel like that time of, oh, Melo doesn't have a ring is kind of past. We know what the Knicks did, or I guess did not do for him. So I'm cool with him playing with Portland for a year. I think it's a good look for him and the organization. And then maybe like for the next 2 years after, or whatever, however long he decides to play for, finishing his career with the Knicks, one final season. Who knows? Maybe they'll be okay by then, even if they're in the playoffs. Seeing that dude in the playoffs hit an elbow jumper like in the first round, like that'd be something else. So I think this narrative is accurate in terms of that's what he should do. But I'm a fan. I have a bias, as you can see from the fucking shirt that I'm wearing. That I would love to see it. So yeah, I would love to see that dude finish
No,
with
but
the Knicks.
you're right, man. And I think personally, I think basketball would love to see it. I think that would be a good thing for the NBA. I think Melo back in the Garden, getting fuck out of here rebounds live on Madison Square Garden with the lights only on the court. Like there would be nothing better, man. I just want him to be Melo. So like if they're just gonna let him be Melo, by all means, man, go back to New York, right? Just like because it would feel right. It even sounds right. Like listening to you talk about it, it's like yeah, that's exactly where you need to be, man. It's just
Right.
I think going back to New York this time, I think people really give him the appreciation. Not that y'all didn't before, but I just think it
Nah,
would be
they
the
did.
perfect. Okay, I wasn't gonna say it, but I think it would be the perfect thing for him. I think he deserves that, right? Like, not everybody gets a championship ring, man. If everybody got one, they wouldn't be special. They would
Yep.
just be a matter of time, right? Like the finals wouldn't be everything if everyone got to win. The playoffs wouldn't mean as much as everybody just got their turn winning in it. I think sometimes you can mean more to the game than just being a champion, right? And you can't tell the history and the story of basketball without Carmelo Anthony.
Yep.
Unfortunately, for a lot of people, without realizing that, you can't. Sorry. But Melo back in New York would just look right, man. It would feel right, and especially if they get his boy Chris Paul. Um, I mean, you mix those two vets in there with those young guys in there, and kind of they help steer the Knicks back in the right direction. I think that's just even if they get his second year, maybe he signs a 2-year deal, right? The second year he gets to the playoffs. Melo goes out and you change
That's
the
what
narrative.
I'm saying, man.
If you want to keep it trill, you change the narrative about you. He goes in there and he helps, and all of his teammates say he's the greatest guy. So I'm gonna believe everyone that played with him, right? And I'm not gonna believe all these other people who said he was trash for no reason.
Yeah.
I just think it would change. It would change so much, and him walking out of the game as a Knick, helping them kind of get back to where they were. That would be remembered in New York. Just a complete 180 about him. I think that would just be one of the most beautiful stories. So I would love to see it, man. You kind of got me. You got me. Yeah. He needs to go to the Knicks. He needs to play for Thibs. Yeah, I'm ready. But I mean, Taj Gibson's getting a max deal though. That's the
Yeah.
first move. They're
Let's
gonna try
chill.
to. They're gonna give Taj a max. That's Thibs' guy.
Let's
You
chill.
know, isn't his agent's the GM now, right?
What?
His agent's the GM now.
Leon?
Yeah.
It was his agent, obviously, but yeah.
Oh, he on the way.
And
Just
a
wait
lot
till you
of
see
people,
Lala go and buy a new house.
a little sidebar, but a lot of people saying that um, now with Leon Rose president that they're gonna retire Melo 7 for sure. But also, real quick, I found the tweet. It was from S. Ball Talk. I'm gonna put it up on the screen real quick, just to give him some respect because it was a good tweet. So share, and he wrote, "I've said this before. Melo needs a ring and a team he can help achieve it. If not, bring him back." And like I put the target because I was like, that's literally like the perfect way to put it. If he can't contribute to that team, then fuck it, come back to New York. And you were talking about the Knicks fans like not appreciating 1,000%. The last year they were booing him. Like I'll never forget that for the rest of my life. He got fouled or something. He held the ball at the elbow and he made a move. He got fouled and people were booing him because Phil Jackson went and the media was like, Melo holds the ball too much. And the fucking Knicks fans, usually they're smart. Most of the time they are, but there was some who were booing him and Melo was like wagging his finger at the crowd. And I'll never forget that, how Phil kind of turned that narrative against Melo. It's like, no, it's not me, it's Melo. It's Melo's fault that we're not doing this. Like, I tried telling him and doing all this shit. I could get into that for hours, but
I
yeah,
think Phil Jackson's the reason why Melo isn't on the Lakers right now.
You think so?
I mean, Jeannie Buss, that used to be his fiance, man. I think she soured everybody off Melo. I think because LeBron supposedly said yes, like he wanted Melo and then it got signed off. It got declined at the top. So
I think if LeBron wanted him, he would be on the team.
I don't know if LeBron got as much juice as people think, bro. Like not in the Lakers. Like I think he gets like on those other teams, Cleveland. Like you got to remember, he left Miami because he didn't have the juice like that. They straight up looked at him and said, "You ain't D Wade," and that's what him and Pat Riley kind of got. So I just wonder if I know it's not all Jeannie Buss and kind of all and Phil Jackson and LeBron got something to do with it, but I just wonder if how much of Phil Jackson's relationship with Melo and what he told Jeannie that he ain't on the Lakers right now, because ain't no way you taking Jared Dudley over Melo. That's wild.
Again, we've touched on this many times, but not like, oh, the Lakers needed someone. Somebody tweeted me some shit. I tweeted out a stupid picture of Jared Dudley, and they're like, oh, but Jared Dudley is the perfect fit on the Lakers. What people forget is the Lakers had 4 or 5 players on their roster when they signed Jared Dudley. It wasn't like, they had all these good scorers, and they're like, no, we just need someone to come in and be a leader. They fucking had 4 or 5 people when they signed Jared Dudley, and somebody goes, we can go 20 games straight without Dudley ever seeing the floor, and there would be no drama. If Melo didn't see the floor on this team for 20 straight minutes, it'd be the talking point of every sports talk show. So it's like they had 5 players on their roster. If the Lakers were just looking for guys who wouldn't complain about not playing, just sign Howard Stern. He wouldn't complain about getting paid millions of dollars to sit on the bench. So
sign me then.
I'll fucking do that shit. I'll sit there. I'll
to wear some Nike sweats, to wear a whole Nike sweatsuit. Let's go. Courtside. I'm with it. I can get up off the bench too and do all the celebrations.
Bro, I'll do that shit for a quarter. They're paying Jared Dudley.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the last thing. So yeah, I think we both agree. Did you change your mind now? Even if they don't let Melo be Melo, that you want him back in New York?
Yeah.
You could stay if you.
Yeah,
really...
I mean, you kind of got me hyped about the New York thing. I think in the grand scheme of things,
legacy,
right, the legacy part of it is bigger than anything. And I think him back, it just looks right, bro. When you see him in Portland, it's kind of like, this is your comeback story, right? But when you see like those photos of him on the Knicks, you're just like, that's Melo.
Yeah.
Right. 100%. It's like early Denver, coming to your own, cut the braids off, go to New York, ball out in New York. It's almost like New York Melo is the Melo. So if it's in New York, I ain't gonna be mad at all. And I'm gonna come out there if they let us in. If they let fans in, I'm coming out.
Yeah. Hopefully by then shit will be somewhat back to normal so we can do something. But yeah. All right, tomorrow
when they play the Suns.
Literally any game. I mean, they only play the Suns. Suns play at MSG once a year. So if it's like a Tuesday, it might be rough, but up to you, man. Now that we've kind of gone through everything, we've reached the end. And one thing we do is we let people have a minute, 2 minutes, whatever you want, their own time to control whatever narrative it is you want to control, whether it's, Devin Booker, whether it's fucking Post-its, peanut butter and jelly sandwich, literally anything you want. What do you feel like you want to control? What narrative?
This whole control the narrative thing got me going extra hard for Devin Booker. I feel like this guy gets incredibly just disrespected by everybody for no reason. He's also a walking bucket. I mean, he's averaging 25 points through triple teams. And I think as the Suns have failed to put pieces around him, people have blamed him for that. I mean, this dude's had 80 teammates and 5 coaches in his first 5 seasons. So I just think, I'm on Twitter going extra hard for Devin Booker, trying to make sure people know that he's good. Suns Twitter kind of attacks everyone who says Donovan Mitchell's better, anybody's better than D Book. We super biased up here. We don't care. Uh, so really just letting people know that Devin Booker's here, man, and he's just got game, and you just got to start watching basketball. We can see who don't watch basketball by your opinion on Devin Booker. So that's the one thing we controlling up here in Phoenix.
All right. I thought that sounds real familiar when you said he had like 80 teammates, 5 coaches, and then they're blaming him. I don't know. I feel like I've heard that somewhere before, but
Right.
word, man. Well, again, DeMar, appreciate you taking time out of your night and coming on. Again, when all this shit goes back to normal, we're gonna have something at MSG, and we'll be expecting to see you there.
Yes, sir. I'll be there.
For sure, man. Appreciate it, bro.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Peace.